I understand Bo's not playing well, and I understand everybody wants to blame everything on Bo. That's probably the easiest way, just to place blame. Um, I understand that all the football calculators out there on social media also want to bring up EPA and any other acronym that has whatever meaning to it. The fact of the matter is the Broncos are 8-2, and if Bo Nix was as bad, or not even as bad, because people are making it sound like he is awful, like really, really, like not even remotely in the league type. If he was like that, this team would not be 8-2. And if any fan base should know that, it should be the Broncos fan base, because we've been dealing with it for about a decade. We've had good defenses, and it was always that quarterback that just wasn't getting it done.
Mm-hmm.
Now that we have one, he's not getting it done all the time, and not nearly every drive.
At least the last couple of weeks.
Or stuff like that. Not everything is his fault. There's a lot of dirt on everybody's hands, but if any fan base should know that, it should be this fan base. But again, I think social media has ruined a lot of things, especially with the discourse of just sports in general, not just football, but basketball as well. And it's getting exhausting. But yeah.
I'm going to stand behind what I said, though, about him not looking like a starting NFL quarterback right now. But you make a good point. Like, this is why I'm torn on where do I place blame with what I'm seeing, because, look, he's just not getting it done most of the time. There are times he turns it on and gets it done, but it's so incredibly inconsistent. But this is probably the most undisciplined team in football, because I've never, ever, not even in the peak Roses red, violets are blue, holding offense number 72 time, did we get this many flags every single game. It's actually ridiculous. And also the special teams.
And just
go home. Go home.
There were some undisciplined moments, I think at times that they had in a few teams in the past, but it's never been like this. I think that the problem, though, for me with some of the Bo Nix discourse is when they assume, like they actually assume that he's never been good, like at all. Like he's never been good at all. And it's like, what were you watching last year? What were you even watching during some even pieces of this point this year where there were some highs? Like, what were you watching? Were you just simply latching on to the fact of his draft profile that you've been scouting, or, and that's everything that you've been latching for? And then the moment that negativity happens, that's when it comes up and be like, see, I told you so. Like that's where it gets to be so much of a problem, because he's not played well the last couple of weeks, but even then I think he's been good enough. Now, granted, I think the only one where to say it's been good enough has really been that Thursday night game. It's just because that was a pitiful performance. Like that was really, really bad. You want to talk about, the only reason why it's at least good to talk about in terms of that Thursday night game is just a simple fact that they won the game. If they didn't win that game, you are talking about the argument of the Broncos and Colts game from like a couple of years back on Thursday Night Football about like how bad that Thursday night game was. But like it is just really rough for me in terms of the whole Bo Nix course when they eliminate the whole idea that he's never been good at all, and it's just the idea that like, that I think that there's a lot of dirt on the hands. And I think that they are in an identity crisis. And I think that the fact that this mini bye week, and even the simple fact, win or lose, them playing the Kansas City Chiefs is a good thing for this team, because that means that they have this game and then that bye week. So it means that they have like one game in the next, like at least at this point, like in that Thursday game in the last 23 days, right? So that's going to be a good thing. And it means that I think over the course of this season has really tested the mettle of this team, the actual mental fortitude of this team. And having it at such a young point in this team's career with a young quarterback is a good thing for that team going forward, right? And I think, as we alluded to, having these games and winning these types of games, like it's the fact that like they lost those a year ago. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, we'll talk a little bit more about the we'll talk more about the Broncos and the Kansas City Chiefs game, and probably why it's a little bit more important for the Chiefs than it is the Broncos, even though it is like the biggest game in the last 10 years, right? But I just think that when you look at it, like the Kansas City Chiefs were 11-0 in one-score games, and I guarantee you that 11 of those games, half of those, if not a couple of those, were against some pretty rough opponents that they won by one score.
Yep. You
flip them, and it's a little bit of a different vibe in terms of the Kansas City Chiefs. And then with the Broncos' sake, they're winning some of the – it's not 11-0 in one-score games, but they're winning those games in one-score games. And it's one of the reasons why the narrative for the Broncos of finishing in close games is so different than a year ago. And I think that is going to mean so much for the growth of this team, and specifically the growth of the quarterback. So once they do figure that out, and they kind of get that offensive identity of not having Bo under shotgun 89% of the time, or whatever that crazy statistic is, doing what needs to be done, which is understanding the strengths of Sean. We got to call some timing routes. We got to call some some things to get Bo out of structure, in a structure. He's got to be willing to put forth his ego, and Bo's got to put forth his ego to make it all work. That's really what it's going to come down to, is they got to really find some common ground of how to make this offense be the engine for them to win that Super Bowl this year.